Welcome back alongside Pierre Newsham, Fox 9 Minneapolis, from what I'm hoping is a very comfortable position on the couch because he's got a pinched nerve in his back. Plus, this is the last time we're going to see Pierre for a couple months. So listen, shoes off. Let's just kick back and relax.
If I had longer hair, I'd let it down the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're just joining us. I couldn't even make it 3 minutes, Paul, like you said on here. I was like, I think but you know what? I thought you were probably going to notice me like twitching and moving around and like, what is wrong with this guy? Is he like tweaking out? Because I couldn't sit still because I was in so much pain. So, but now this is much better, much better.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. So, Pierre, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah.
We first started texting Friday night. Kenneth Grant is a fine player for Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that was their biggest area of need. I really do like Jonah Savianaya, the offensive lineman from Arizona. I think he's going to help them. But you didn't like the way that all of it went down. You don't mind them drafting a guard. You mind them trading up to draft a guard, which is what they did. And then they didn't really have a whole they didn't have a bunch of draft picks anyway. So this was one that they had to finesse a little bit more.
No, they did. They had 10 picks going into this year's draft. But the problem I have is, listen, okay. Jonah Savianaya, I'm sure is going to be a fine player in the NFL. At least I'm certainly hoping so. He plays for the team that I root for now. But moving up from 48 to 37 to get a guard. Now, granted, I understand that you believe, and NFL GMs know a lot more than I do, especially on draft day. Everybody kind of talks to each other. Everybody kind of has an idea of where the other is going to go. And you probably thought that Jonah Savianaya wasn't going to make it past 40. And you're sitting there 40. And you felt like he was a guy you absolutely had to go get. I understand it from that perspective. However, you're looking for a guard. I would never trade up for a guard. If you're going to trade up, it's got to be a guy who you feel like can make an absolute impact on your team right now from a playmaking perspective. Now, I know that I sound like a complete hypocrite and broken record when I say that this team has been weak in the trenches for way too long, and that's what they did in this draft. They addressed the trenches, which I appreciate and I understand it, but you gave up your third-round pick in this year's draft, and you traded out of the fourth round entirely. So after you traded up from 37, you didn't pick again till I believe it was 141 or something like that. This is the meat of the draft, is in that third, fourth round where you find guys. This team has holes at corner. It has holes at safety. It has holes at third wide receiver. It didn't address that until the fifth round, and you gave up the opportunity to address that with probably better players that were on the board in the third and fourth round. You traded out entirely. And Chris Grier, listen, at the end of the offseason, Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, came out and said, I trust my guys I have in place, but make no mistake about it, Dolphins fans, we're not going to settle for the status quo. And when I see Chris Grier trade out of the fourth round entirely for a 2026 third round pick, that indicates to me that is a man who is not operating in fear. That's a man who's not operating in fear of losing his job, and he is not terribly concerned about piecing together the 2025 Dolphins the way they need to be pieced together. And that to me is absolutely infuriating, because I would have thought that knowing that your job is on the line, you do everything in your power to make sure that the 2025 version of the Dolphins were absolutely up to par at every single position. And when you trade out of the third and fourth round entirely, that to me says, nah, I'm good. I'll be here next year. I think I'm just going to go with my board, and I'm going to be here next year anyway. It doesn't matter. It's infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating.
I've enjoyed that quite a bit, Pierre. And look, they're like, what have they done? What do they do to help Tua out? Right? What do they do to do that? I'm not sure they really did. Although they drafted players I like. I love Ollie Gordon. And they took Ollie Gordon in the sixth round. Almost because they have because of Mike McDaniel, this 49ers thing of we're taking a running back. We're going to take a running back. Although, with Devon Achane and Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon is the third back at best, and he doesn't have a lot of special teams experience at least for you. So that's why that one was a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I mean, and as you and I were talking about it, I like the player. My issue is not with the player. And to Mike McDaniel's credit, for all of his flaws, one thing that I think he identifies well is running backs. And so from that perspective, I don't hate the player, but this team needs a third wide receiver. I don't know if Malik Washington is the answer or not. He could be. He was a 6th-round pick last year, showed flashes last year as a rookie, but Tyreek Hill could be out the door, if not this year, probably by next year. So what's the plan in place for when Tyreek Hill walks out the door? And on top of it, too, this team is about to trade Jalen Ramsey. What's the plan at corner? Are you hoping that Cam Smith, your 2nd-round pick, who has been a bust so far from a couple of years ago, just magically figures it out? Or are you just going to pick up the phone and call Stephon Gilmore or Shaq Griffin and just get them in here at minicamp and figure that's going to be the solution to your ills? When two of those guys who had good seasons for the Vikings last year, but they were playing under, in my opinion, the best defensive coordinator in the game. So the logic, Chris Greer last year mocked the media saying, we don't worry about the offensive line clearly as much as you guys do. Well, what transpired in the 2025 season? Pass block win rate, that team was absolutely atrocious. And then he even kind of admitted, he's like, well, yeah, I guess we will have to address the offense. What is he doing? This is as clear as day what this team needs. Now, like I said earlier, they address the trenches. That's where this team needs to get tougher. Absolutely, no question about it. But but you still could have done that and held on to all your picks in this draft. You still could have done that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about Shedeur a little bit. I mean, everybody in the world's talked about it. I don't want to, we can pile on the kid for prank calling him, which was a dumb thing to do. But I'll tell you that, if I had ever embarrassed my dad at work, he had to get a prosthetic leg because he would have broken it off in my ass. I can tell you right now, that, oh, man. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's going to be one of those things that, it just lingers. He's going to be mad. He can't go visit his dad at work ever until he goes to another team. He can't ever go visit his dad with the Falcons ever. No. Hey, come into nope, I do not, and so, and
then to be dumb enough to film yourself doing it too.
Oh my gosh. Look, I'm very glad that camera phones didn't exist when we were in our 20s here. But here's the thing. I think I would not have filmed myself. I would have worried about somebody else filming me.
Yeah.
But let's film this particular thing we're going to do. That's where I lose it. Hey, this is potentially really dumb, but we think it's funny. It's not.
No.
Let's not film it. But the coverage around Shedeur was really how's this happening? All of this, it is everybody wants to bake it down into one thing. And it's really a confluence of factors, right? So one was that the Steelers have no plan other than Aaron Rodgers is going to sign there, which if you want to, if people want to talk about chemistry in the locker room and, toxic and all that, you're telling me that Aaron Rodgers is going to solve your problem that way, and Shedeur is not. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Also, Aaron Rodgers is at best a 1-year hitch. That's it. That's all you've got. So that was one of the factors. One of the other factors is that NFL scouts gossip a lot. And so all it takes is one scout who has a lot of friends that respect to be man, he was awful in this interview. And then they're okay, well, Then there were a bunch of teams that didn't have him on the board anyway, which is true for tons of prospects anyhow. So of the 32 teams, 20 of them probably never even considered drafting him in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about too, because I know mock drafts are not the end all be all, but it's a big part of what we have to go off of during draft season for those of us who are interested in the draft, and kind of we like to see what people are talking about and where we think these guys are projected. And there was definitely some whispers. I heard some talk about him possibly going in the 2nd round as well. But the free fall that we saw, I'd never anticipated it for a second, Paul. I mean, even I, somebody, you and I had talked about it in months leading up to the draft. I said, I like Cam Ward the best. After that, I'm not thrilled with his quarterback class in general. Like, yeah, I think Shedeur has a high floor, but he doesn't really excite me all that much. But I never once for a second thought that he would fall out of the second round. Not once.
No. I never did. Like, I never thought he fell past the first 40 picks. I thought, yeah. And the other, there's a couple other factors. The one I want to talk about the most is, and this should be a lesson to everybody, no matter who your dad is, the Sanders camp. And this is what I do think they were guilty of. They did not respect the draft process. They tried to cut their own path to it. And sometimes you just need to go bend the knee a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do that. And it was to their detriment because, again, you're talking about coaches and scouts and people who work really hard at this. They have their expectations. They just want it to be like, it's a really long process. It's probably a month longer than it truly needs to be. And especially now with the technology, like, you don't need 6 months of scouting on a guy when you can just call up the school and get all his cut-ups, and watch the film. Like, it's not like it used to be where you'd be like, all right, well, we got to go to Oregon and watch this kid from Oregon State work out because they were only on TV once and he had a sprained ankle. So we got to go watch this kid because he's apparently really good, but we don't have a lot of film on it. So we got to go, take a bus and a train to get to Corvallis, Oregon and do this. It's different now.
Sure.
But they set up these things to make it easier for both sides to be seen and heard by NFL front offices. And every time they're like, well, no, you can come to our thing. Like, I'll be like, you can see me, but I'm not going to go to your thing. You can just, we ain't hard to find was a really bad strategy. It just was a really bad strategy. And that led to all the stuff. And then when you have the we ain't hard to find, that's when the gossip happens and all these things that are not necessarily true get out. And then you get these narratives built up about like what kind of person Shedeur is and all that. And what I will tell you is Shedeur has never committed a crime. All those guys in Colorado would lay down in traffic for him. And if your problem is he's a little bit of a diva, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Like, honestly, that's how I feel. Like, if that's what you think, like, all right, do you know how many like silos of pieces of shit that the NFL has housed over the years on their roster that have done stuff way beyond having really expensive jewelry and cars when they're in college?
Yeah.
Way beyond. Yeah. So don't give me the character stuff. Now, yeah, I do buy that, like, eventually, like, if he's going to wind up being your backup, you kind of need to humble him a little bit because you don't want the circus coming for a backup quarterback. So the only place that could really handle that circus is the one that's got quarterback chaos in the first place in Cleveland. So, like, once you fell, that was pretty much like Cleveland and Pittsburgh and maybe Vegas. Like, those are the only three that were any kind of realistic option for him for teams that might have needed a backup quarterback. Otherwise, he wasn't, he's not going to go to Dallas and be Dak's backup or Miami and be Tua's backup. They don't need that smoke. He's not going to San Francisco where everybody's, every time Brock Purdy, doesn't look a little bit athletic, everybody flips out. So you're not going to put him in New York with Justin Fields. You're not, so like there are all these situations that just weren't going to happen, especially when Aaron Glenn's trying to rebuild the culture there. And I think he wants to like simplify being a Jet, like Aaron Rodgers, the locker room. Well, sure. I mean, again, we just talked about it. So I mean, look, Shedeur and Dion and the Sanders group kind of made their bed and they've had to sleep in it. A little bit on there. There were consequences to it, but the gossip and the BS, that's where that's where you lose me of like, all right, like, let's look at this realistically. You guys haven't had divas on your team that you put up with because they're good. Shut up, shut up, shut up. You put up with criminals and divas and all that. This is easy. If you have the right people in place, it should not be a problem. That's where I'm like, come on, guys.
Well, it's funny too, when if you look back at the tape of when Dion was drafted. I mean, if I recall correctly, he's got the sunglasses, he's got the jacket.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely looking like a guy who, is likes the lifestyle, and he was still taking what, 4th overall. So I mean, I'm not comparing Dion's talent to Shedeur's talent, but it really does make no sense in terms of how far he fell and why. I want to kind of expand the view of this too, and you and I kind of talked about this. We may have, I don't remember, but when the Browns took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, my jaw hit the floor. I said, who on earth had Dylan Gabriel with anything higher than I was going to say 6th round grade, but 5th round grade at most, at absolute most, a 5th round grade on Dylan Gabriel. And the fact that you took him in the 3rd round and then you take Shedeur in the 5th round, well, that makes the Dylan Gabriel selection make even less sense. Now that you took Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round and you've got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel. We're not even going to count Deshaun Watson because we don't even know if he's going to be healthy enough to play. And even if he is, I bet you the Browns are going to be like, yeah.
I'm going to tell you, Deshaun Watson will likely never take another NFL snap.
Never. An NFL snap? I don't know about. He'll never take another snap for the Browns.
He's never taking another snap for the Browns. I don't think he's ever going to play again. I think pre-second Achilles injury, he showed that he wasn't that good anymore. Like he's lost all his skill set and he's more headache than he's worth. So, I mean, he might get a couple more shots, but a regular season NFL snap, I think, is very rare for him. And when I see people like tweeting out that thing about the Browns quarterback room, like Deshaun Watson's part of it, no. I doubt he'll even be at the facility outside of whatever contractually obligated rehab he has to do for that Achilles. That is all about the insurance that they have to pay on it. He is, by the owner's admission, a sunk cost. Right now, he's not going to play for them. It's going to be Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and Shedeur battling out for the spots, and all 4 of them may make it. They may keep 4 quarterbacks. You know, one goes on the practice squad, the other 3, or they keep 4 on the active roster. San Francisco does it every year, so you know.
I'm still flummoxed by the whole Dylan Gabriel pick. I mean, if you ask me about the draft, like the move that shocked you in the draft, it was Dylan Gabriel for me going in the 3rd round. I was absolutely floored. Never once anticipated that for a single second. Not one. I do want to ask you though, are you, because you and I were talking about it, the Cowboys pick after pick after pick after pick and no running back until you finally got one. Was it 5th or 6th round?
5th round for Jaden Blue. Yeah.
5th round for Jaden Blue. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, there's like, there was still a lot of good running backs on the board, like going into the 4th round.
Well, they traded their 4th round pick away. For Kaiir Elam. I don't know. Like one of the 5th round picks was Kaiir Elam. The 4th round pick was for Jonathan Mingo, who essentially is now their best shot at a real number 2 wide receiver. Sure. And I don't know how well, like they've had a whole offseason with him. He and Dak really haven't played together yet. I mean, they haven't played together at all, but like Dak's still recovering from his hamstring surgery. So they're pushing a lot to the middle of the table on Jaden Blue at running back, who I'm very excited that he's on the team, but he is not now, nor has he ever been a number 1 back. Like he's not that. Right now, have they maybe replaced Tony Pollard in the way that they had Tony Pollard and Zeke for those couple years? Yeah, maybe, but they still haven't replaced Zeke yet. And I've seen a lot of Cowboy fans. They're like, "Oh no, Javonte Williams is a stud." I'm like, no. If he was a stud, like he's not some kind of diamond in the rough. He had a shot to prove that he was. He never did in Denver. Like the Broncos are not exactly set at running back themselves, so like they let him go. Miles Sanders is always hurt. It would not surprise me to see both those guys not even make the roster out of camp, although I think one of them will. Phil Maffa is a 2nd round pick who If you need 4 yards, he'll get you 4 yards. If you need 8 yards, he'll get you 4 yards. Yeah. I mean, that's like, he's a short yardage back. He'll be good in those type of situations, but he's likely going to be a practice squad player because they picked him in the 7th round. Should he make the team? And so that position distresses me a little bit. And there's some trade rumors going on with the Cowboys because Jerry started them the other day. And, I guess we'll see where that goes, but they don't have a true number 2 wide receiver on this roster. And that is a disservice to Dak Prescott in a way that is ridiculous. And they're not like, they keep pushing like, we like our guys. We like our guys. We like our guys. All right. Okay. Like over and over and over again, 29 years.
Right.
I saw Kai Jones, who is Jerry Jr.'s son. And I got to know Kai a little bit back in the days when we would go to Oxnard all the time when he was a little kid running around. Kai is younger than 29 years. He was not alive. Like Jerry's grandkids were not alive the last time they won a Super Bowl. So like, if you want them to see one while you are still alive, you're going to have to change the way that you do things. And I believe the problem is Stephen Jones. The Cowboys were a lot more fun and better when Jerry was kind of unencumbered to make the decisions he wanted to make. And then Stephen kind of asserted some dominance there to help with the salary cap, to which he does not understand to this day. We're 25 years into the salary cap era. Cowboys don't really understand how it works, or like they don't. They don't.
Right.
They just don't. And so, I like many Cowboys fans refuse to get excited about anything until I hear the words, the Dallas Cowboys are going to the NFC Championship.
Right.
Then I'll go, okay, they've taken some steps forward. And then even then, until I hear the words, the Dallas Cowboys, after my years, are returning to the Super Bowl, then I'll be a little bit more happy. And then I won't be happy again until they're kissing the Lombardi trophy and passing it around. Because there's no, like, I have a friend named Nelson, and Nelson works out at my gym. And, he would always tell me, like, oh, they've won the NFC East a bunch of times. And my thing to the Cowboys have won the NFC East a bunch is, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like, who cares about division titles?
Right. Nobody cares.
Like, when, you know what? I told him, I said, listen, I've been to the Star more times than I can count, and I'll be back more times than I can count. When you walk in the front door of the Star, do you see all the division championship banners? No. You see 5 Lombardi trophies is the first thing you see. Right. As you get past, there's a press conference room on the right. There's a security guard that stands at a podium and makes sure you're wearing your credential. Once the press conference room ends, there's a hallway. The hallway has all the helmets of the teams. And in the center, in the tabernacle spot of the lobby, is 5 Lombardi trophies. They don't gather dust because there's a guy who comes and cleans them all day. But, that have been 5 Lombardi trophies for 29 years.
Sure.
There's just 5. And, the last one's like, Mom and Dad, can I have a brother? And they're like, maybe, So, yeah, no. So nothing will get me excited until then. Until then, it's the same old Cowboys.
I do want to ask you this, though, because I'm not going to get into the whole world of draft grades and stuff like that, because that's stupid. We don't know how any draft class pans out for at least 3 years, really. I think that's a fair barometer of when you can really judge a draft class or not. But I do think I am okay with talking about, like, when you look up and down the league and you see each team's draft class, there are going to be some that stand out to you more than others. I do have one team in particular that I thought I really liked what they did, but I want to hear yours first, to be honest with you. If you have any thoughts on that.
The Eagles. I always like what the Eagles do.
Yeah,
like, they just know how to fill their roster, and they traded up one pick to make sure nobody traded in front of, traded with Kansas City to get the guy they wanted in Jahad Campbell. And then they just kept getting dudes, like really good players.
I can't believe they got Ty Robinson.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the Eagles landed Ty Robinson in the 4th round. I absolutely cannot believe that, Paul. Like, seriously, that was like, how in the world did they land Ty Robinson?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
A team I really liked their draft was the Jaguars. I mean, like,
interesting. Okay.
I love going up to get, hold on. Let me pull up their whole draft class, but I do look, I love them going up and getting a guy, that is could be a generational player. Also a Florida native who is going to have a blast playing in Florida and all of that. Sure. I really like, they drafted we interviewed him, Wyatt Milam. And actually you can find those interviews. Andrew's been putting him up from Big 12 Pro Day up. He's been he put him up yesterday. He's putting him up throughout. But Wyatt Milam, guard from West Virginia, love him. He was my favorite offensive lineman in the entire draft. The Cowboys got Tyler Booker, and I didn't think that they were going to draft a guard that high. I told him, Garrett, remember, I was like, do you think you could be comfortable living like here? Because that's what I want. Bashal Chutin, the running back, love that. Super fast, really good player. One of the guys I kind of had earmarked for the Cowboys. And Jack Kaiser, the linebacker from Notre Dame, is a really, really good player who's like a field general kind of dude there that just makes tackles, is old school, like, put his shoulder in your face mask and make you feel him kind of a dude. So, yes, for the first time in my life, I'm going to say this. The Jacksonville Jaguars really impressed me.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like it very much, actually. The team that I was looking at for me when it was all said and done, I thought to myself, boy, I think they had a nice weekend, was Seattle, actually. Yeah. Gray Zabel went a little higher than I probably would have gone. It was a little too rich for my blood in terms of where he went, but there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a great player in the league. And that's a guy that you just plug and play and have him in there for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And he's probably going to make multiple Pro Bowls. So I can't really complain about that. Then Nick Emanwori slides down to you at 35 or 36 or wherever they traded up to get him. Get Nick Emanwori. They get Elijah Arroyo, who's a very, very consistent tight end. And get a late round gem in Damian Martinez. I thought that was a little bit later, and I thought Damian Martinez would go. I know everybody probably would say, well, what about Jalen Milroe? I was like, yeah, that's definitely
he's not their starter though.
Yeah, he's not. No, he won't be. He won't be the starter, and who knows what he could develop into with the right coaching. But I walked away thinking, you know what? I kind of like what Seattle did. I think they got some great talent on their team.
Yeah. All right, Pierre, we've got 5 minutes left. And this is the 5 minutes where we will talk about our reality competition shows.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the Challenge All-Stars? I thought that Adam and Steve were the ones who deserved to win, and I was really glad that a team that wasn't really that good won the thing, that the best team won it in the end.
I was there really wasn't I wanted to see Shane and Davon win it. Out of the teams left, I wanted to see Shane and Davon win it. I thought that would have been a fun way to end the season. I didn't love the all the remaining teams. I couldn't stand. I still can't to this day. It's funny because I haven't seen Frank on my TV for 12 years, and it took all of 5 minutes to remind myself as to why I can't stand this guy at all. This was All Stars 5 was the weakest cast of the All Stars, and the full reason being it was just another challenge because the All Stars are left for the people that we grew up with in the late 90s and the early aughts. Those are the people that we want to see. And this cast was not that. It was kind of a half. So I didn't love this season of All Stars. It was okay, but especially if you go back and you watch the elimination between Nina or Nani and Turbo and Adam and Steve, that was one of the worst eliminations I've ever seen in my life. It was I couldn't understand how you just have like a little bit of a guessing game, and then Nani and Turbo were at a complete disadvantage, only going twice in that elimination, as opposed to Adam and Steve who went 3 times.
Yeah, so I think part of that is that a lot of these people are in their 40s and they have to plan out challenges that aren't gonna. Otherwise, they'll have a final where everybody's limping.
Yeah, like you get a pinched nerve in your back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No. All right, who right now of the teams that are left is your pick to win the Amazing Race?
Man, there's some good teams left too. I think you have to right now consider the what are their names? The two guys, the Vegas performers.
Oh
I
yeah,
forget what their names
Brett and
are.
Mark. Brett and Mark.
Yeah, I think you have to consider those guys as the favorite. Although I hate saying this, I think you have to watch out for Jonathan and Anna.
Yeah.
I think you have to watch out for them, even though Jonathan is just the absolute worst. The worst. Just the way he just the subtle digs that he makes and how nothing is his fault. It's he's just the worst.
I think Carson and Jack are probably like the ones who are, because like they're very smart.
Yeah.
They're very smart.
Yeah.
I would not say the same about Brett and Mark.
Yeah.
I think
would
sometimes
agree.
that they're like, I'm not saying they're idiots, but like, because there have been idiots on the show.
Yes.
We just finished watching, I want to say it was season 18.
Okay.
And in the final, that one was, they went back to Los Angeles, and the team that came in third, God, I can't remember the names, but it was a guy and a girl. And it was the two girl teams finished ahead of them.
Okay.
In the final. And it was, in fact, the first the doctors that won, the girl doctors, Nat and Kat, they won. And the other two teams figured out how to find out where they were supposed to go for, like, you know, the roadblock or whatever. And there was a clue, and it was like Sancho Panza's master. And I'm like, none of them knew it though. And I'm like, off the bat, I was like a Don Quixote. Yeah. And Amanda goes, "Did you just know that?" I'm like, everybody knows that. Yeah. If you took high school English, you know who Don Quixote is. Right. And this is not like now high school English. This was back then where those people are my age. Like, yeah, you should remember Don Quixote. You probably had to take a stupid test about it. Yeah. It's very like, and then I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, then the team that came in third, I was like, how dumb are you guys? Right. Just go, like, ask the driver, take me to a hotel very close to here, please. Right. You know, like, take me to a hotel, which is what the smart teams did. One of them, I think, was like, it took them a second to figure it out. And one of them called information, and they went to a hotel. Well, that's what you do. Like, hey, it doesn't say on the clue you can't use a computer. Yeah. You know, but and I really do enjoy Alyssa and Josiah, but I think they're gonna get nicked by something.
I kind of hope that they win. But yeah, I think Jonathan and Anna is gonna be tough to beat. And you know, one thing I was not expecting to say on this show, or maybe ever, especially after watching the show the last couple of weeks. Boy, the Bulgarian countryside seems very lovely, doesn't it?
The people seem really happy. Like they were thrilled. Yeah. To like have all those. It's the first time they've ever been there.
It looked awesome.
Yeah. No, I've never thought like, hey, I'd like to explore Bulgaria a little bit. But they seem to have fun.
Yeah. That looked like a great host country.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, they haven't gone to they went to Bangladesh, right?
I think they have gone to Bangladesh. Yeah.
No, but then like in this season they went to
yeah, I remember they went to Dubai.
Dubai. But they like there's always one stop they go to that's not a fun place to be.
No.
And it like, and part of it is because that's a challenge and it's different. And that's the thing, Pierre, if you and I are ever on that show, I think the leg that's going to trip me up is the one where they don't take us to London or France or wherever, where they take us to Bangladesh. And then I'm going to have to like run up to these very poor people who are downtrodden to be like, hey, I'm in a reality television show that they're paying to fly me all over the world to win $1 million. You don't have clean running water. Would you please help me build this thing? Right?
That's
like,
so true.
Like,
true.
I mean, I would feel like such a piece of American crap. Like in Bangladesh, like, oh, hey, can you like, I'm trying to sell these sunglasses. Can you help me? And can you buy sunglasses from me? Like
you can't believe that they don't own a cell phone. Like, like what kind of country? If we enter, I've thought about this too. The country that would trip me up without a doubt, India. I was like, oh, if
Oh.
we're going to India, that's where my Amazing Race experience ends.
Yeah,
100%.
we're going to have to here's the thing that's different about you and me. When we get on the show, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when. When we get on the Amazing Race, we have a plan. We're going to read every clue. And here's the thing. We're going to let teams run away from us when we get clues, because we're going to sit there and read it. And then we're going to watch them mess up.
It never ceases to amaze me how many people do not read the whole clue still to this very
team that got eliminated this week.
Correct.
Took taxis all over the place.
What is it, season 38 or 39 that we're on?
Yeah.
Never ceases to amaze me. Never.
And I guess in the moment, but anyway.
Yeah.